So my name is Todd, and today I'm going to talk about how to hack Google AdWords for your business. Just really quickly about myself, I previously worked on the AdWords team at Google, worked on a team called the Accelerated Growth Team. We focused on helping high-growth startups basically scale their business from $100 a day in ad spend to $10,000 or $20,000 a day in ad spend. And I'm currently the co-founder and CEO at AdHawk. So I'm first going to just go over what this presentation is going to cover, and then I'll go into the specific details here. So we're going to go over the basics. We're going to go over what we like to call the new sales funnel. We'll go over some different campaign types, and then I'll leave you guys with some things to remember and some resources at the end. Okay, so I'm going to start very basic, and it's going to get a little bit more complex as we go. So every single AdWords account targets a location. I think that's pretty obvious. It can be as granular as a zip code, or you can target an entire country, or you can target the entire world. The most popular way of targeting is radius targeting. So you can say, I want to target Toronto, and I want to target a 25-mile radius around Toronto. You can do the same thing around Miami. You can do the same thing around any zip code, any state, anywhere of your choice. This is generally what most people use just because it's the easiest, and they can pick a location for where their customer is. But there are some more advanced techniques actually inside of Google that are pretty hidden that most people don't know about and Google doesn't broadcast. So the first one is income level targeting. You can actually target users based on their household income tiers, based on the state or the country that they live in. So I'll give you an example. If you're a luxury watch brand, you may only want to target people in the top 10% of income level in the US. So you would only target the top 10% of income people in the US. But let's say you sell luxury watches, 80% of your watches are luxury, 20% of your watches are relatively cheap. What you might want to do is target the whole United States. You might want to add the top 10% of income level and make a bid adjustment. So increase your bid with people that are in the top 10% of income level, but still target everyone else. And what this will do is it'll increase your bid with people in the top 10% of income level. It'll raise your ads higher on the page if they fit that. And if they don't fit that, you'll still show your ads to everyone else. You just won't pay as much. And that's kind of a theme that I'm going to talk about over and over again, which are these different types of bid adjustments. Now, you can also target by central commercial areas, universities, and airports. So another example is, let's say you're a locksmith. You want to target all of Florida. But if someone is searching for you in a central commercial area, it's really important for you. So you may target all of Florida. You may then add central commercial areas within Florida. And then all you have to do is increase a bid by X%, whether that's 10, 20, 30%, because they are that much more important to you, and you want to increase your bid for those people. Now, so far I've talked mostly about increasing bids. Well, let's say you want to target the whole United States for your product, but you don't want anyone in central commercial areas, or let's go with universities to see your ad. What you can do as well is you can add this targeting and then give it a negative 100% bid adjustment. That is something that Google will never tell you or talk about, but let me give you an example. So I don't know, I'm a store. I don't want any college students clicking on my ads. What I would do is I would target the whole US. I would then add all universities within the United States, and I'd give it a negative 100% bid adjustment. So you have to add the targeting and then decrease the bid adjustment to actually get rid of universities. There's no switch that just says turn off universities. So that's kind of how a lot of the location targeting works. The next big thing is ad scheduling. Generally, what we see is customers run their ads 24/7, and honestly, they lose 25 to 30% of their budgets with clicks from 2 to 7 a.m. You'll still get clicks, but what we see is that generally you don't get conversions. So what we always recommend for customers is run your ads 24/7 to start and use data to help you optimize from there. And a really good example of this is, let's say you're a restaurant or a service-based business. Let's just use the locksmith example again. You may want to show your ads 24/7, but you only have people on staff from 9 a.m. to 10 at night. So what you might want to do is pull out 9 a.m. to 10 at night, increase your bid by 20 or 30% because that's really important to you, and then during the other hours, decrease it. So you'll still show, but what you're telling Google is it's worth less per click to me. I still want to show, but I'm willing to show if I can get cheaper clicks at that time. Another example is maybe a restaurant. You might want to increase your bid during lunch hours or dinner, or decrease your bid in other times. But you can really use day parting to your advantage. Generally, there's not really a good reason to pay premium prices from 2 to 5 a.m. If that doesn't make sense for your business. So another way you can optimize, and I would say probably one of the more important ways, is by devices. When people came to us at Google and at Ad Hoc and they say our account isn't performing, and they're getting conversions, they're getting sales, they're getting leads, but the cost per lead is just way too high, I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, it's because they aren't looking at the breakdown of their devices. So when you create an AdWords campaign, it's going to automatically show you on mobile devices, tablets, and computers. To be honest, most of the time it'll overspend on mobile devices. Maybe 80-90% of spend will go to mobile devices and 10% will go to computers. And generally, that's why we see cost per acquisition and cost per leads be huge if people don't look at this section. So let me give you a couple examples here as well. If you are, I'll just keep using the locksmith example. Your locksmith phone calls are really, really important to you. What you might want to do is increase your bid adjustment on phones. Because on phones, there's a click-to-call button. They can call you right away. It's a little bit harder on the computer. They have to see your ad, then go to their phone, then call you. So you can actually give a bid adjustment up to 300% on mobile devices. And actually, you can go up to 300% on any of the things I've talked about today. So you might want to say, OK, if they're searching for me on the phone, I'm willing to spend 300% more. But on a computer, 20% less. Or on tablets, 20% less. Well, another example is, let's say you only want to show ads on computers. Only want to show ads on computers. Maybe your site isn't mobile optimized, isn't optimized for a tablet. Again, there is no on or off switch to only show your ads on computers or only show your ads on tablets. You have to go into settings, devices, and give a negative 100% bid adjustment to tablets and mobile devices to only show on computers. It's a very convoluted system, but that's kind of the way you have to go about it. So the last thing that you can make these bid adjustments for would be demographics. This is actually fairly new for Google. This launched a couple of months ago. But you can make bid adjustments, again, upwards of 300, downwards of 100, to gender and age. So if you know that maybe you sell women's shirts, you might say, OK, well, I want to bid down 20% with men. Because maybe they will buy this shirt. Maybe it's a present. Maybe they want it. But I'm willing to spend 20% less if a male is searching versus a female. But maybe you say, I just don't want to show to men at all. You would give that a negative 100% to just never show to men. Keep in mind that all these bid adjustments add on top of each other. So if you do a -5 to people in Miami, a -5 to people on mobile devices, and -5 to men, and a man in Miami on a mobile device, you're then going to compound on top of each other for the negative mobile bid adjustments there. So now I want to go into different campaign types and what we like to call the beer funnel, which is how we look at the new sales funnel. Mostly for smaller companies, it's not just the normal sales funnel, just top down. So I'm going to start with how you make customers aware with display ads and Gmail ads, how you bring them back with different types of remarketing, and then how you seal the deal with search campaigns and Google Shopping. OK, so make them aware. All right, so the first way to make them aware is with display ads. Display ads cover about 2 million websites around the internet, and they cover about 90% of the internet. And these ads are usually image-based ads, and they can show anywhere from the Wall Street Journal to CNN, down to a cooking blog, a sports blog, a baseball blog. Clicks are generally less expensive here because it's not intent. I'm going to go into how you target people in a second. But you're usually targeting people based on the topic of the website they're on, the interest that they've had in the past, not their actual searches, which is why the clicks are less expensive, but you can tell a really good story with the actual image ads. And just so you know how display ads work, publishers, blogs, other websites, the Wall Street Journal out there puts AdSense on their website. They put AdSense on their website, which allows Google to serve ads on their site. They make a little bit of money, and Google's then allowed to serve ads on their site. So that means the Wall Street Journal could put AdSense on there. I could also open up a blog tomorrow, and I could put AdSense on there. So it's a really wide variety of all different types of websites that you can show on. One thing to keep in mind, and then I'll go into some best practices here, is if you're seeing, actually, let me start with the demographic stuff. So Just like I said before, you can make bid adjustments on gender, age. The only difference here is you can actually make bid adjustments on parental status. I haven't seen too many use cases for this. There obviously are, but if you specifically want to target parents versus non-parents, you can do that on display ads only. You can't actually do that on search campaigns at all. Now, probably the best thing you can do when making display campaigns, and I'll go into how you target it right after this, is look at the placements report. What the placement report is going to tell you is, okay, you wanted to target customers that are interested in sports. You're not telling them what websites to go on. You're just saying people that are interested in sports. This placements campaign is going to actually tell you the actual websites in which your ads were shown. It'll give you a massive list of them. What you can do with that list is sort by ones that you spent a lot of money on and didn't make sales, or ones that you got a lot of sales on and didn't spend much money on. And you can actually exclude websites from this placements report. One thing that we see a lot of our customers make mistakes with is you might see mobile app this, mobile app that, and all the placements. The only way to not show on mobile apps is either to do a negative 100% bid adjustment on mobile devices, or exclude the placement AdSense for mobileapps.com as a negative website. Those are the only two ways. But if you don't do that, or you don't give a negative 100% on mobile, you will show a lot of your money on mobile apps. So here are the different ways to target, and then I'll tell you some of our best practices on how to use these types of things. So the first way is interests. Interest, you target people based on their interest. So you want to target people who are interested in sports. You use interest targeting. Now keep in mind, they might be on a website about cooking. They might be on a website about co-working spaces. They might be on a website about anything else. You're actually targeting the person rather than the website. The next one is in market. This is also targeting the person, but this is person that is in market to buy something, and that is signals that Google has come up with that this person is in market to buy, not just interested. So you can imagine the clicks on in market are a little bit more expensive than the clicks on interest. The next one is topics. So this is based on the website. So I want to target people who are on the topic of or on a website with the topic of sports. What you're saying then is, I don't care what their interests are. As long as they're on this website topic, I want to show them my ad. The next one is keywords. So if this keyword shows on this website, I want to show my ads. So if baseball shows up on this website, then I want to show my ad to them. I don't care about their interest. I don't care about the topic of the website. If that word is on there, my ad needs to be there. We see a lot of customers do keywords for their brand. So if their brand shows up on any page, they want to have an ad on there and kind of reinforce their brand image. And the last one is placements. So placements is you saying, here's a list of 30 websites. I want to show my ads on these websites and these websites only. So let me go into some advanced techniques here. So a lot of these things can be layered on top of each other, right? So you can say, I want to show my ads on a website where people are interested. I want to target people who are interested in sports but are on a website that has to do with the topic of baseball. You can imagine that audience gets smaller the more you keep adding on, and then the keyword has to be, the Marlins. You can imagine that audience gets smaller as well. It gets more specific, it should be higher converting, but the clicks are going to be more expensive and the audience gets smaller the more of these that you layer on. What I would recommend if you are going to run display campaigns is I would pick 2 or 3 of these targeting. I would do interests, I would do topics, and I would do in market. I would run these in 3 separate campaigns. That way you can control budget, maybe $10 each day for each separate campaigns. What I would do then after 30 days is I would go into that placements report that I talked about before and look at all of the websites in which your cost per conversion is under what you need it to be. I would then take all of those websites, pause your other campaigns, and run a placements campaign. So you're using those first 3 campaigns as basically research. Which websites do my customers convert on? Pause those, and then run a placements-only campaign with just those websites that you already know your customers convert on. I would much rather you do that than say, oh, I know which websites my customers convert on, and I just can list them all off the top of my head. You might as well let data do the talking for you. And that's kind of one of the more advanced techniques that bigger customers do to decrease their cost per conversion or their cost per lead. So a little bit more about display campaigns. I listed up here the different types of image ad sizes. We get that question a lot, but there's a bunch of different image ad sizes that you can do, but here are the most popular. I talked about campaign for each type of targeting just before. The one thing I do want to mention is the mobile device stuff here. I mentioned at the beginning that your ads, a lot of times ads don't perform on mobile devices versus desktops. It's even more dramatic on the display network. If you're running a display campaign and you're seeing terrible performance, I would challenge you to go look at how you're performing on mobile devices versus computers. We've all been on web browsers. We've seen the image ads that we've clicked on by mistake, and we see that happen all the time. So please check your devices when you're running display campaigns over anything else. So the next thing, and probably my favorite thing in this whole presentation, and probably the most important thing I'll talk about is Gmail ads. These launched recently, probably 6 months ago. They were in beta for a very long time. But what this actually allows you to do is target people based on who they're getting emails from or what they're saying in their email. It is the best way, yeah. It's the best way to target basically competitors or complementary products. So let me give you an example. If you're Airbnb, you want to target your competitors. So you would say anyone getting emails from, and Airbnb is probably a bad example because I can't think of any competitors. But let's use the lab. Anyone getting emails from WeWork, right? Or anyone getting emails from Spaces, I want them to see my ad. So that's one way you can do it. And these clicks are really, really cheap, right? If you were to bid on WeWork on the search network, it would cost you $7 or $8. You want to bid on anyone getting emails from them, it would cost you 10 cents a click. Another example is complementary products. So maybe we don't want to target competitors and we want to target similar products. So we want to target people who are getting emails from Trello, people who are getting emails from GitHub, people who are getting emails from other services that might clue you in that they might want a co-working space. So it's a really good way to target complementary products or competitors with this. So let me tell you how to target, because it is a little complicated, and this is a new thing that Google has recently launched. You can see what the ad looks like up here, and you've probably seen it inside of your promotions tab inside of Google. It's a little yellow ad on top. You actually click on this ad, and when you click on this ad, it opens up a bigger ad. So there's a little bit more friction to getting to your website. It actually takes 2 clicks to get to your website. But again, it is very cheap and extremely, almost a little bit creepily targeted. So let me talk about how to set this up. So it's a display campaign, just like we talked about before. You then target the placement of mail.google.com. Nothing else, just mail.google.com, none of the other targeting. Then you add in keywords. Now, if you want to target, let's say, people getting emails from diapers.com, you would put the keyword in diapers.com. But if you want to target people who are saying diapers in their email, you just add the keyword diapers. So for example, again, if we use the lab as an example, anyone getting emails from WeWork, we would do a display campaign, placement of mail.google.com, and a keyword of WeWork.com. But if we want people that are talking about co-working spaces, we would just make the keyword co-working spaces or WeWork without the .com. So again, I talked about a little bit more about the ad type, but here's kind of how it works. So it's a collapsed ad in your promotions tab. You click on that, it opens up an expanded ad to tell a bigger story. You then click on that to get to your website. So there is a little bit more friction. There's a little bit more friction involved in this. But again, they are very targeted. There's less competition because it's brand new. Not many people know how to set it up. And it is a display campaign, so it is cheaper. A couple things to keep in mind. Generally on Google, you look at clicks. What Google says is a click is actually that first thing right there. So clicking on the ad, that doesn't mean that they hit your website. So you may see 100 clicks, but only 50 people visited your website because 50 people dropped off here and didn't get to your next part of your site. So if you are running Gmail ads, make sure you there's a column that you can add in called Gmail clicks to website. That's probably more so what you care about than clicks, and that's very specific for Gmail ads specifically. The other thing that you can do is in this expanded ad here, there's all different types of things you can do. I would recommend, though, always having a fake button to click on, like a fake call to action button. The whole ad is clickable. Wherever they click, it's going to go to your website. But when you add a fake button, we see that most customers will click in that area because they think that takes them to the site. Some of our bigger customers, you can actually upload an HTML ad. So if you have the ability to create an HTML ad, you can actually embed a form into that ad. So if you're trying to collect emails, you can embed your MailChimp form into this ad right here, which is some simple HTML. So the customer actually never has to leave your ad to put in their email. That really reduces the friction. If you have the capabilities of doing that, or going on Upwork and finding someone that can help you do that, I would highly, highly recommend it. Okay, so now that we know how to bring relevant customers to our site for a cheap cost, how do we then bring them back to our site? So this is where remarketing comes in. If you guys have ever been on Amazon and not bought the product that you clicked on, you guys know what remarketing is. So it's when you click on a product, you don't purchase, or you don't do the desired action. They follow you around the internet with that product, a coupon. I know like 3 or 4 years ago, there was this hack that you could click on an Amazon product, add it to your cart, not convert, wait 7 days, and you're guaranteed to see an ad that's saying, hey, don't forget you buy this blender, we'll give you 20% off. And I know that you can still do that with a lot of companies, so I would check that out. So I'm gonna kind of skim through some of this because I'm running a little bit out of time, but I'm gonna talk about how remarketing works. But one thing to keep in mind when you're doing remarketing, it can be done on the display network or on YouTube. So if someone comes to your site, doesn't take your action, you can then show them a video on YouTube the second they're on YouTube, or on ads all across the internet on the display network. One thing to keep in mind is you always look at conversions, right? So someone that clicks on your ad and then does your desired action. On remarketing, you can also look at view-through conversions. So that's someone that saw your ad, didn't click on it, but ended up converting in whatever window you've set. So you got to take those with a grain of salt because you might just be covering the whole internet with ads at some point, so people are obviously going to convert at some point. But it is something that you want to look at for view-through conversions. So quickly, this graph tells you basically how it works. A user comes to your site, you drop a cookie on them with some code, they leave your site without taking your desired action, you show them around you follow them around the internet with ads. The number one thing I can tell you here is you want to create different audiences. So an example is, let's say I'm an e-commerce store. I come to your website and I leave. That's all I do. Your remarketing campaign for that should be a different message, and it should say, hey, don't forget we also sell shoes, right? Or hey, don't forget our stuff is made in America. Give them a different message because they haven't proven that they're interested at this point. Then you might create an audience of someone that comes to your site, gets to the cart, adds a product, and doesn't convert. There, you might want to give them a message that says, hey, 10% off, because you know that they were interested and something stopped them at the cart. You can even say, okay, someone got to the About Us page and didn't convert, and maybe you show an ad to them that says, hey, learn more about us. There's something about us you obviously didn't like, so here's more about us here. So just make sure you customize your audiences and then customize the messaging for that audience. I'm going to skip this, but basically you can do remarketing on the search network as well. It's done very similarly, and I'm happy to go over that later, but generally display remarketing is what most people use. The Amazon example is actually dynamic remarketing. So if anyone has an e-commerce store here and you have a Google Shopping feed set up, dynamic remarketing is probably the most powerful remarketing thing you can do, but you have to have an e-commerce store to do it and a Google Shopping feed. What this allows you to do is if a customer clicks on a specific product, that product will follow that customer around the internet. Whereas the other type of remarketing, it's a static ad. You have to just kind of come up with your own static image. This is dynamic. It'll come with that specific product that customer clicked on. It's way creepier. Okay, so how do you seal the deal? So I'm going to talk about search campaigns, and I think that's what most people are probably the most familiar with. Basically, these are the ads on Google, the 3 ads on top. It could be 5 ads on top, and it can be up to 4 ads on the bottom. This is done on Google Search and Google Search Partners. So Google partners with a whole bunch of different companies, including AOL, to license out their search results. If you're going to run on Search and Search Partners, I would just recommend in a week or 2 checking how your performance is on actually Google versus Google Search Partners. These have the highest conversion rates, but the cost per click is the most expensive. To give you an idea, one of our customers does emergency flood insurance. Their cost per clicks are over $400 every single time someone clicks on one of those ads. Because if you type in emergency flood insurance, you're likely to need it. You're not just typing in flood insurance, you're typing emergency flood insurance. You're more likely to need it right now, and a sale of that is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to that company. Same example with locksmiths. If you just type in the word locksmith, that click may only be worth $5. But if you type in emergency locksmith right now, Emergency, right? That's going to be more and more expensive. So the more intent, your conversion rates might go up, but it might get more and more expensive for your cost per clicks. Quality score is a big thing on Google search. So you're given a quality score of 1 to 10. Quality score looks at your landing page, your expected click-through rate, and your ad relevance. Quality score is very important because without quality score, Amazon can basically bid on every single word out there because they have so much money to drive traffic to their site. Same thing with competitors. If the lab wants to bid on WeWork, they're going to get a 3 out of 10 quality score. And if they want to show in position 1, they'll probably have to spend 5 times the amount as WeWork because they have a 10 out of 10 quality score, which is why I recommend using Gmail ads for competitor stuff rather than search because it gets very expensive. Similarly to the placements report on display, when you put keywords into Google, and that'll be my next slide, that's just what you're saying, these words have to be in the search. You don't know what actually the whole search was. So there's actually a search terms report that tells you this is what people actually searched, this is actually what they typed in, and you can use the search terms report to exclude or include more keywords. So I'll just go through this last slide here. This is kind of how you can set up keywords. This is very confusing to a lot of people. It seems so easy, but it is quite confusing. So a broad keyword is here. It's bike shop. So if you put in just the word bike shop like it is up here, it'll include misspelling, synonyms, basically anything related. And when I mean anything related, I really, really mean like anything remotely close to being a little bit related. So you might show up for cycle store, but you might show up for bike job posting or lost my bike today. You could literally show up for anything. If you use broad match modifier, which is a plus sign in front of bike and a plus sign in front of shop, what you're telling Google is the word bike and the word shop have to be in the search. It has to be in the search somewhere. So if you just did the plus sign bike and no plus sign next to shop, you're saying the word bike has to be there, but shop can be a synonym or something sort of similar. So you'll show up for bike repair shop. You'll show up for anything that has bike and shop in it. If it doesn't have the word bike or shop, you will not show up. Broad match modifier is what 98% of our customers use, and I would recommend using that over anything else. The next one is phrase. So if you put quotes around bike shop, that phrase has to be there together. So you'll show up for local bike shop, but you won't show up for bike repair shop because that phrase is not together. You can't have anything in between in phrase match. There are very few instances where that phrase has to be there and you can't have a word between. But if there is, phrase match is good. But again, I'd recommend broad match modified. And then the last one is exact match. So exact match, you're saying it exactly has to match this, nothing else. Can't be anything, any synonyms, any misspellings, it has to be this. So like I said, with the display network, you look for placements, you make those placements into a placements campaign. Here, we use broad match modified. We use the search terms report to see what people are actually searching. And if we just see a search come up very frequently, and we see that we're converting really well on it, we then turn that into an exact match keyword and bid up as much as we can as possible because we now know that that works really well. My last couple slides are just about extensions. I know I'm out of time, but I'm happy to send this through afterwards and you guys can take a look at this. But yeah, that's everything. I appreciate it.